Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new media show. Of course, I'm stepping on my cable here. A great way to start the show. Yeah, I'm here solo, and Rob is not with us today, and I will just kind of start out, just kind of acknowledging that Rob had expressed to me that maybe the show should change. I didn't know if he wanted to continue. I'm not going to speak for Rob. I hope Rob will be back for future episodes. Always welcome here, and I'm not saying that this is the end of the show as we know it, but definitely there's some potential change here. And we've had a really super long run, many years. I'd just have to go back and look in the calendar, but it's been more than 10 years of doing the show. And the journey of this podcast really started many years ago with a show that we were doing called the Saturday Morning Tech Show. And we end up talking about podcasting more than we were talking about tech. And Rob had been part of the, inaugural group of folks over at Tech Podcast Network at techpodcast.com, helped us with streaming features. They just, some stuff that we were doing early on that podcasters really weren't doing. But, Rob had this, this syndicated radio show that he'd been doing. So in a long story short, we've known each other really since probably the beginning, 2005 or so. And then, we just aligned, and of course, Rob's worked for everybody in the business and knows a lot about the space. And I completely respect that and respect Rob's opinions, and I know that Rob is focused on a lot of the stuff that's happening in AI and in video, and that's fair. Times change. He's not working for a quote unquote podcasting company at the moment. So, he gets the freedom of being able to, definitely dig deep into those topics as well. And I'm very happy for him. So we'll see. But at this point, and again, we'll see. Maybe next week will be different. Who knows? But definitely we'll be inviting on some folks to have discussions. And sometimes I'm going to be going solo. But there's a big enough audience that's associated with this. I just, the emails that we've got and the stuff that came in via comments, Andrew had said, "Hey, I hope it isn't the end. I like listening to the banter from two long industry experts. I'm firmly in the audio first side, but I don't see a problem with people saying video is up and coming. Audio is portable and takes less effort to produce. Audio is better for me." He says, "I think the push for video should be shorts and reels as a marketing strategy for an audio podcast. I have been doing that for a show and getting some comments and interaction that I don't generally get from the audio podcast, which will hopefully grow the show and not just my social accounts, but it gives me more content and discussion points to bring in the show regardless. I'm thinking of doing the same with my own shows, record video, doing clips, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, etc." And he says, "In fact, the only video podcasts I watch in video format is the new media show. If you change the name, how about the audio first show?" I don't know if that works or not, but Andrew, thank you for your comments. There was one other that came in via a boost, and let's see if I can load that. A boost had come in from Silas on Linux. He says, "Keep going to the show, just make it not 2 hours and go in circles less. I don't know if we can get individuals to keep making new great RSS formats because people don't know OpenRSS is great and care. Right now, we need to keep a focus on making RSS better and convincing companies and networks to keep at it. And then through that, we may get more great podcasts. Going to individuals is really hard. YouTube, X, Twitch, Instagram, and Spotify are fantastic that people know and like." So I absolutely agree as well. Silas also says, I was there 2 days, well, 1.5. Went to the hotel early day one. The talks were mostly really good and almost very full. This talking about the podcast show. He had like 6 stages or something. It feels to me like the bigger talk stages probably made the event seem less alive, but there's constantly hundreds of people missing. Oh, there was huge numbers in there. And again, another boost from Silas. And I also attended the advertising video show. It was nice to meet Todd, some of the other people there. So, Silas, thanks for your feedback. I don't know if Rob got an email. I didn't get any direct. So maybe Rob did. And but I noticed this morning Rob canceled the long-standing 3 o'clock appointment we had for today. And I'll talk to Rob and kind of get some feedback. But I've wrote an agenda for today. Yes, that's normally Rob had been doing that. But I want to just make sure, as we talk about podcasting, which I still consider new media, you guys got to understand. And I think those of you that listen to this show, that many of us in the space, Rob included and others, live, breathe, think, shower thinking about podcasting. And that my life revolves completely around helping creators and running a business and doing everything that you need to do to make that successful. And one of the things I keep telling my team is to make sure we have to stay focused. And while we've built some cool tools for AI, we're looking at things for video. Talk about that here more in a minute. We need to make sure we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Audio is this super incredible, powerful medium that I know right now many of you have got this show plugged into your head. You're listening via earbuds or however you may be listening, in the shower, in the car, at the gym, on the go, in front of the TV, watching it. You're consuming this show a lot of different ways, but you have specifically decided that you're going to listen to this show, and that's a big difference. No algorithm has fed you this show. You've by choice decided to listen to this. Now, are you going to continue to listen? I don't know. I guess it depends on how interesting it gets. And I will say that, I've been pretty firm and, for many, many years that I truly believe that podcasting in its open form is the last bastion of free speech, where a platform such as YouTube, such as Spotify, cannot take content down. I'm not aware of content being taken down on YouTube, but I am aware of content that's taken down on Spotify for a variety of reasons. And sometimes I get tired of forwarding those emails to legal and to my support team to go look. In fact, sometimes it comes in by the dozens of episodes that have been removed, and more often than not, it's because of music. So, that's understandable. Spotify has a terms of service, and they don't want music in their podcast. So, my thought process has been, at least for a while, and seeing the influx of new content creators coming in, are we leaving creators behind? Are we leaving new potential podcasters behind? And I think the answer to that right now is yes. And I talked about it in the last show. But I think we have to be, as an industry, advocating for audio creators, and also, if they so wish, to do video. But I think what we have done, and based upon the discussions, the calls that I have on a weekly basis And I had a call this morning with an individual. And the exact words, Todd, this beeping video is hard. And the individual has a successful audio show. So we understand doing video well is hard. I screw it up half the time anyway. I screw up audio. But is the industry leaders effectively protecting podcasting's open standard? I think many have become to realize the importance of it more than ever, especially the folks that are part of the Podcast Standards Project. I think they all fully understand the importance of open RSS, which has been from the beginning. But the industrial complex, as Adam and other folks like to commonly refer to us, there's been so much focus around the monetization that we forget what a majority of audio podcasters want and creating content. I had an interview yesterday with Chris from over at Podfest, and him and I spent an hour talking about indie content creators. We talked about the audio, the video, where this community of, and Chris told me I think the number of folks that are not worried about making money is at about 85%. I said 70. He said 85. He said, I think your number's wrong. But again, depends on what event you go to. If you go to Podfest, it's probably 85% of the people that are not entirely focused on making money, but at the same time, they have sessions and tracks for monetization. Where you flip the script and you go to Podcast Movement, I would say 75% of the people there are looking to make money in connections and sponsorships. So it's a different show, per se. And I go back to this statement is not being done as a podcast host. Am I doing enough to support creators? I feel we are in their rights. And basically, I can count on probably two hands in 20 years the number of shows I've had to take down because of something they said. And it was usually something so egregious that it was like, oh, my God, where are you coming from? Mars, Otherwise, we've protected creators' rights. We've encouraged creators' independence. I look at my role in saying, own your brand on your own.com, control your feed, you own you. So I think, I've done my part in that regard. But the podcast industrial complex, which is largely made up of companies that are focused on making money, taking 50% of ad revenue or 70%, whatever their split is with podcasters for representation, and the drive to fill more inventory. That part of the industry has different goals than I do as the founder of a podcast hosting company. And 20 years later, I'm still a podcaster. And I understand the challenges and the ups and flows. And just like this show, here we are. We've got a little bit of a change, right? We got a little bit of change here. And that change isn't always bad. Things change over time. People have different, maybe they get tired of talking about certain stuff. It happens. It's life. But what we have failed, and what we have failed as an industry, is our speed of adoption and innovation and reinvention. It's like a slug. Feels to me it's just crawling in innovation. There's a group, you guys know who we're going to talk about. There's a group that's going like lightning fire. But yet, the rest of the industry is doing the same thing, rinse, wash, repeat. And in my opinion, it's not good enough. So we have to, as industry leaders, and those that are listening to this show that consider themselves industry leaders, we have to advocate for the value of audio and video podcasting in their own separate ways. There is a storyline for advocating for audio. There is a storyline for advocating for video. There's no doubt. To be blind to that is, I don't like it, but I've been doing video for so many years and, it's kind of hypocritical, right? So the industry in new feature adoption, and yes, podcasting 2.0 features is too fucking slow. It's too slow. And too many hardheads in the industry that don't try to understand what it is. They don't care what it is because they're focused on a different thing. They're focused on making money. Not focused on helping the creator space have new tools, new features, new engagement to build community with the creators in the community. What do we want as podcasters? I tell you what I want. I want your feedback, right? I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think about the show. I want to know what I did wrong. I want you to chew my ass out when I'm wrong. I want to hear that. And we've made it very, very hard. Are we doing it now? Email. We've got this great thing called Value for Value, but it's kind of broke right now a little bit. One of the comments that I read at the beginning of the show is from the blog. Someone actually took the time and made a comment on the blog. I can't tell you how long it's been since someone made a comment on the New Media Show blog. Matter of fact, I was shocked. I logged in there and said, oh, there's a comment. Because it's been too hard. Look at the engagement they have on YouTube. Look at the chat, the super chat, all those features. We envy for that. And yet we've had the ability to make that happen now for a while. And guess where we've been? We've been slugs and crawling like snails and not adopting stuff. Is every adoption going to change the world? No. But cumulative, a lot of smart people with a lot of good ideas have added some things that should, in principle, help creators connect with their audience, help them have a feedback loop, get that dopamine hit from every time someone says, I love your show, I hate your show, whatever they say. Make it easy for that interaction to happen. Make it easy for a listener to donate to a show. Make it easier for me to promote shows that I love. Give credit to the people that are on the show with me. All these cool things that we have added, and the major podcast apps, excluding Apple and Spotify, have been slow to adopt or didn't adopt at all. Marco at Overcast, what has he adopted? Nothing. Pocket Cast, yep, they've adopted some stuff. We've hurt ourselves. And this is why the shift is happening, is egos and feedback on your content is often the dopamine hit a podcaster needs to continue to improve, to grow their audience. So we have to get off our butts. And we have to say, risk be damned. We need to adopt these features in mass. Now, I'm going to talk about something that I've been talking about. I'm going to get to HLS just in a minute. But we need to advance the space, and we have the ideas and features to help advance the space. Will it be the golden egg at the goose lake? No, it's not. It's not, but it's incremental things that will help. The extension of open RSS. Isn't that a beautiful word or sentence? The extension of open RSS? That should ring. That should be like, ah! There should be angels singing, extending open RSS instead of going into lockdown silos. Who's the lockdown silos? We know who they are, right? So in London, we had I missed the first meeting. I missed the lunch for the Podcast Standards Project. And, I love the idea behind the Podcast Standards Project. Some hate it. There's a few podcast host employees that hate it. They think it's some controlling agency. But, it was a good discussion. And there was definitely near unanimous agreement that we need to do something with video. Now, I have to play devil's advocate here because Rob's not here. But we have a system today, 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 that works. We don't have to make any changes. You just got to open up video hosting for your podcast hosting platform. Make it available. Yes, they'll have to create 2 feeds. One show for audio, one show for video. Is it perfect? No. But it's what we've been doing forever, and it's available right now and ready to rock and roll. 80% of you listen to the show, 20% of you watch. So hosts today can embrace video immediately, and things will work out of the bag. You don't have to do any other work. No, you might have to enable MP4 in your system or whatever. And maybe have to have a player. But the lift to support video is easy. No hiccups. Number 1. So that can be done by all hosts tomorrow. Will they do it? I don't think so. We already had the discussion about Apple and what we want Apple to do. But we can talk till we're blue in the face to Apple and beg, and not necessarily beg, but, please, come in, you can, make video, not, it's like, like we're like kids. And like, please, Daddy, can I have some candy? And it's not that bad, but, it goes back to, I talked to you guys before. It's like this contractor speak. When I was working for the government, it was like, oh, they would contractor committees. Oh, we should do this and this and this and this. I said, oh, that's interesting. I could never say that's a great idea. I could never said that looks good. I could never said let's implement. I could never commit. I could not make a committal statement or even hint around a committal statement because, well, Todd said we could do it. He said it was a great idea. Here's your bill for $1 million. That's the kind of, and it's literally that. And maybe not to that extreme, but pretty doggone close. So when we're asking Apple and others, please support video, make it a first-class citizen, they have to go, interesting. Oh, okay. We're hearing you. But that's it. That's all they can say. because it's the Apple way. Keep your mouth shut or be fired. So even if all the podcast hosts tomorrow supported video, we have a handful of apps that support it natively. I know, matter of fact, I got a message today from the Fountain folks. They're going to support it natively, and there's a number of apps. I wrote a thing on LinkedIn. I've already pissed some people off. They wrote me back. But, there's a handful of apps that support video. Is it Apple Podcasts? No. But what will happen if Apple Podcasts makes video a first-class citizen? All hell will break loose. In an instant, overnight, every podcaster that's doing video will want to be on Apple Podcasts. Why? Why not? What's my motive or my hypothesis, my comment forever has been, I don't care where you listen, as long as you listen or watch. I guess I can add that to that comment. Don't care. And for as long as this show has been doing live, we've had a video podcast. Ever since, I think Geek News Central, I started like episode 600. I'm on 1800s. That's what, 12, 13, 14 years, something like that. Been doing a video podcast in RSS. And 30% of the people watch, either on Apple TV, on Apple Podcasts, on whatever app they're listening. I see it in my statistics. They watch. Why do they watch? I don't know. They watch. Why do they watch me? I don't know. Why are you watching? So, this HLS discussion, we need to do HLS within alternate enclosure. And immediate in my head, okay, fantastic. It's beautiful. Great idea. No issue. And, but the challenge there is, all right, we're going to put HLS in the alternate enclosure. Will Apple adopt that? I don't want to, sound like Rob Walsh. But if they don't, and we only get a handful of apps to support HLS, got me to thinking. And on the podcast index Mastodon yesterday, I started a hell of a the threads just went on and on and on. But I basically said, the HLS discussion, yes, I know that Sarah Hove has seen the light in terms of, I'm calling this future survival, and they're looking at HLS. Todd from Blueberry wants a definable commitment by all Podcasting 2.0 apps to support it. If we, as host, add this, it's going to come at significant cost to deliver the media in HLS. And we'll talk about that too. And I'm just going to say this. I'm not spending a single dev dollar. I'm not spending a single dev dollar until there's a reciprocal commitment by the majority of Podcasting 2.0 apps that are participating today to support HLS video. I've been the chicken. Now I'm going to be the egg. The chicken needs to be the apps to support HLS. Because, ding, 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 because video podcasting is supported today with no additional dev work. I've already got it. So this has to be a joint effort. If I get the majority of Podcasting 2.0, I said all, but if I get majority of them, 90% of them, to commit to supporting HLS video via alternate enclosure, we'll build it. But it's not going to come for $20 a month. Fair warning. Now, my team's done a fair amount of research. We've been looking at this for a while to do HLS on Amazon AWS. Let me just give you a little insight, a little insider baseball insight onto the cost of HLS. If I was using AWS, media convert of let's just look at a 2 gig video file. And that's someone that's encoding at, 1080p, relatively good frame rate, maybe about an hour's worth of content. That media convert is going to cost 90 cents. That's ding ding. That's number one. The S3 storage is going to cost a nickel. The S3 data transfer is another 10 cents because we're going to be copying over multiple files, multiple segments. So what are we up to? We're up to $1.05 just for the first section of the video. Then CloudFront requests, so every time an HLS video is being played and every click, so what happens is with HLS is they chop the content up into, well, an average, I guess there's like every 10 seconds there's a chop. And Cridlin calculated it out, a 2-hour would have like 7,200 segments. Each of those segments is a request that comes back from CloudFront. And I pay for those requests. What does it cost? 75 cents a million. Oh, that's not too bad, Todd. So let's think about this. If there's 7,200 slices in a single video, you divide that by a million, it's 138. So now we're getting more interesting. At 138, take 1,000 plays, 1,000 people played a video, and divide that by 1,030. I think the math was like 5.34 or something like that, whatever the number was. And 5 times, and let me see, I actually got the math in one of the posts. See if I can find the segment here. Here it is. 1,000 plays divided by 138 equals 7.24 times 75 cents equals $5.43. So we already talked about, I'm already $1. What did I say? I was $1.05, $1.05. We add another $5.43. So we're up to $6.50 essentially. And then I got to pay for bandwidth. So then it's just pure whatever your decimal to the right is or decimal to the left is on your gigabit cost. You just pay that. So you figure a 2 gigabit file, let's just say a 2 gig, it's 2 gigs. And if they listen to all the way to the end, this is the key factor. If they listen all the way to the end, you're probably looking at a penny. Now, to deliver 1,000, to deliver 1, you're looking at 2 gigs, maybe half a cent. So do that math. I think it's still, when you get done, you multiply by half a cent times 1,000. What is that, $5? And so now, and if I did the math wrong, don't shoot me. You guys can correct me in the comments. But you guys can see where this cost is for HLS delivery. Now that's on Amazon. I would never do HLS on Amazon. There's not a chance. Not a chance on earth at this point. What I would probably do is go to a cheaper solution. And there are cheaper solutions out there. Cloudflare has something called Cloudflare Stream. And it looks wonderful. You look at the pricing on it. I'm going to bring it up here. You see this. Whoops. Hang on. Let me get the right screen up for those of you that are. This Cloudflare Stream, the pricing looks fine. You're looking at this and, you think, wow, creator bundle starting at $50 a month. 85 months in savings. All the features are up to 500,000 images and 10,000 minutes of video. Go up to 1 million images and 50,000 minutes of video. So, That sounds fantastic. So let's get the calculator out again. And we take 50,000 and then we divide that by 60. What do we have? 833 plays. So it sounds great until it isn't, because Cloudflare has this nice little habit of them seeing you use a lot of bandwidth, a lot of storage, and a lot of calls, and they call you and say, hey, what are you doing? This is a creator bundle. This is not a company bundle. So guess what we want to do? Here's our contract. And sign the contract for a year, or you get shut off. So this Cloudflare thing is good for a micro scale. All right. So, and we're getting some comments on Facebook, so I'll try to get those read here in a second. Sam is saying all podcasting 2 apps support HLS today for live streaming, not for on demand. I haven't seen anybody in it. Anyway, long story short, it's expensive. Okay, so with that being said, okay, podcast host, what are you going to charge? Can't lose money on this. You don't stay in business and lose money. You know, there's someone in the podcasting space that's doing something cool. He's running his own servers. And we've had a, interesting conversation in a WhatsApp group that's made up of a bunch of industry people. And that conversation has been good. I'm like, wow, you don't have to charge for bandwidth? Fantastic. You're able to just price it, on a different model? Great. You run in your own hardware. And then when you boil down and look at what they're doing, here's what happens. And Libsyn run into this in the early days of podcasting. On any connection, it's called a session. And depending on the server you have, and how much memory you have, and how much bandwidth you have, that server is limited to a not infinite a number of sessions. It's, let's say, 2,000 sessions. And it may be more. But let's just say 2,000 sessions is what the server will support. 2,000 sessions delivering video at speed with no lag. What happens when there's 1 million sessions? When you have, and you guys can watch Podping, when you can see how fast new episodes are being hit. When a new episode hits, and in the current infrastructure with MP4 and MP3, and then grabbing that media and some podcast apps downloading it, the smart people on video podcasting are not doing that. They have it set to play on demand. But for those that do download that, audio or video, that session opens up. The session stays open as long as that media takes to get from the server to you. And on some big shows, for the first 2 hours that the episode has been out, it's lots of sessions. Tens of thousands of sessions for big shows. Small shows, number. But if you take 10,000 shows, and that they're in any percentage of them are publishing a new episode within 12 hours, you have to have the throughput in session capacity to deliver all that media in a timely. If you have all small shows, very simple to run on your own hardware. Cost effective. But when you get a lot of sessions, things fall over and flat on their face. Now, the advantage on HLS, you play, you stop, that's it. You use the amount of bandwidth for the time period that you're listening. You don't listen the whole time. You save on that percentage point, but still, that session is open that whole time. And what kind of infrastructure do you need on scale for the whole podcasting community that decides they're going to do video when Apple Podcast says, hey, we're making a video of First Class Citizen. People have no idea what is about to hit them. The only way you can deliver HLS effectively in mass is via CDN, a big one at significant cost. It's going to cost something. And the pure fact of the matter is, fixed media is a lot cheaper to deliver than HLS ever will be. So I'm still, again, okay, we want to do this HLS thing. You want to do very alternate enclosure? Okay. But do you really know what that means? Do you really understand what that means at scale and what that impact is going to be? I do. We did the math. And it's not going to cost $20 a month. I don't think I can do it without extreme risk for under additional $50 a month to provide HLS. You want just straight MP4 delivery? Yeah, no problem. We can do that. I can probably do that at an easy, probably for $20 additional a month. No issue. But HLS, that's a different animal. And what are the advantages we're getting? What's the only advantage HLS is giving? Variable playback on demand, not filling the device's hard drive with media. But yet, for 15 years, we've been doing video podcasts the traditional way, and no one's complained. We've never, not one complaint from a listener that you're taking up too much storage in my device. Not one, ever. Have we ever had a playback complaint? Not one, ever. Ever. So what if someone caches that content? Say, Todd, we'll take the MP4, we'll pull it in, convert it to HLS, we'll cache it. Hey, yay, let's go. But send me a signal back that says that you've played it. So what is the benefit? The benefit is only for the listener. Only, and what's the negative? Can't watch HLS on an airplane. Can't watch that video while you're at 25,000 feet. Doesn't work. You have to have an internet connection. So it's all fun and games until you have to pay the bill. Yes, business costed money. Now why? Why does YouTube have this beautiful platform that serves video via HLS? They own the data center. They own the fiber. They own the equipment that's in the racks at the ISPs. They do caching. And they do it at scale, and essentially, and this is really being not nice to YouTube, but they pay for electricity and maintenance and upgrades. Almost all that other stuff is almost zero. But yet, YouTube has never said how much money they've made. You don't know if YouTube is profitable. They're pushing people to subscribe because delivery of this stuff is not cheap if you don't own the infrastructure. They can do this because they own the infrastructure. So I think it's great. I like what the Podcast Standards Project is doing. I like the discussion that's happening out there right now. I like the reactions. But is it really feasible for me to spend a lot of money for something that is going to go in a small number of apps. I'm sounding like Rob Walsh again at this point. Can I be ready if YouTube flips the switch? I mean, not YouTube, Apple flips the switch and makes video a first-class citizen again? Oh, for sure. But I'm already supporting Apple Podcasts with video. And let's just be frank. I know some people are saying, you got to give the apps a chance. Yeah, we are. But as a podcast host, I was willing to go out and build the features that needed the chicken first. Really was. But I just don't think that anyone is really, truly ready. Just watch my video on MP4 and alternate enclosure. Same experience. The listener doesn't know the difference. They really don't. Never seen anyone complain. So if the Podcasting 2.0 apps support HLS, great. Then let's see. Then let me look in my, let's start adding the alternate enclosure MP4s to all, and we'll see how many people actually use that feature in that show listing. We'll see then, because again, you got to think about the reward here for video. I know we need to support video, but guess what? We already do. Video podcasting is fully supported in open podcasting today. My contention is you do not need HLS. But boy, it sounds sexy. So let's fix the problem by supporting something that is not supported in Apple Podcasts. Oh. Apple Podcast supports video. Apple TV. You mean I watch the show on Apple TV? Yes. It's not YouTube. So I think you guys see where I'm going here. So I'm just coming at this from the reality. Again, the reality. Oh, what happened here? A reality of a hosting provider. So I got a boost here. Who sent the boost? We got to look. It came in. Yes. Mike says open is a keyword. 1,701 sats. Thank you, Mike. Again, we're going to be open even with HLS. But I, as a hosting provider, doing the math, can go on risk today and offering video to any podcaster that's out there with a cap. You're going to get a cap. You go over this much transfer, you're going to have to go to pro. I'm sorry. Because I'm not going to put servers somewhere that's sitting in a rack that I'm paying rent for to serve that media and then run into an issue when I don't have enough concurrent connections. So there's lots of ways to weigh this. With the CDN right now, I have, if they need more concurrent connections, they spin up more ponies. I don't have to do that. They do that. It's all automated. You think when Joe Rogan drops, how many concurrent connections do you think are going on to download his episode? Hundreds of thousands of concurrent connections just for his single show, literally within seconds of his episode dropping. None of us are Joe Rogan. But collectively, 1,000 shows dropping an episode within the same hour is the same effect as Joe Rogan. Because we know that the first 120 minutes of a show posting is this dramatic, explosive, automated download spike that happens immediately. Used to be, the RSS feed was tied to the Apple Podcast app. That the RSS feed was actually here and not at Apple. So everyone updated at a different pace. So you didn't get this immediate slam. And since the change, the dramatic upswing in immediate downloads, or which would be HLS plays, if they come to that, would be massive in that first 60 minutes. Well, I guess not, because they wouldn't automatically be downloading. They'd have to manually click play. So I might be all wrong here. I want to hear from all of you on whether or not I'm crazy or not. But let's just lay the cards where they may lay. The question I have, and hats off to Podbean, hats off to Libsyn. Where the hell have the rest of you been in supporting video podcasting? Where have you been? Why haven't you done it? It always amazed me that there's just 3 of us. If there's more, correct me. I was amazed. Still amazed. Because the margins aren't bigger. The margins are much smaller. And none of us having raised our hosting prices, any of us raise our hosting prices ever. You narrow that margin. What do you got to do? You got to raise the price. Is that why other podcast hosts haven't raised the price of, or haven't supported video? So it's a multi-factor thing here. And I'm trying to tie this back together. Number 1, the apps need to get with it. If we want to compete with YouTube, we want to compete with Spotify, the independent podcasting apps have to get with it. Number 2, we need to remember that you don't have to do video. You don't have to. Audio is fine. Audio listening audiences are growing. They're not going away. Matter of fact, because there's fewer shows creating content, those that are creating content are now seeing more growth than they've ever seen. So I'm hoping, maybe I'm just talking into the ether here. I don't know. I know that what we will continue to do is we will continue to be a audio first platform for podcasters. We support video. As a company, we're AI first, leaning in. We understand the importance of that to make us more lean and mean. Everything that has been talked about by the Podcast Standards Project does align with preserving RSS and the open ecosystem. So that falls in line with the model. So I guess I'm asking all of you to weigh in. What should our priorities be? Where do we need, where are our priorities? And I'm going to go back and say that we're still not doing enough to support creators as a community. Maybe enough is being done on the monetization side, but as Chris Cremosa said, Chris Cremosa, I screw his last name up every time. Sorry, Chris. What are we doing for the other 85%? And shame on those that have forgotten about those creators. So I'm not going to go 90 minutes today, but I will say that I'm not going to guarantee an episode every week, but I'm going to try. And I'm going to try to continue the mission and advocacy of open podcasting. If this becomes my place to rant, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong in these comments, please let me know. Now, let me go back here. We had some comments that come in. Randall said the push to video is just the latest fad in podcasting. Eventually it will die back down and return to status quo. Maybe. Spotify, Ugly Face by Randall. Sam said the all podcasting 2 apps support HLS today. They may support HLS, but they do not all support HLS video. That's true. Some only play back the audio from the HLS stream. Well, again, until it's a good experience, when someone can flip with the push of a button, I think we have some ways to go. But again, they can watch video with MP4. And the question is, really, why? Why do we have to go to HLS? Why? Because the stream is sexier. We're going to get more data. We're going to get more information to be able to monetize. Is that the reason? That's some of the stuff I've heard. Randall says we have a long ways to go. Oh, I agree. So I think I've talked out here. I'm just trying to think what I missed. So I'm going to try to have some guests. I want to hear your input. We've gotten some input already. But I think we need some listeners to weigh in. We need the audience to tell us what we're not doing for them. Isn't that the folks that it's most important for? If the listeners tell us chat is more important than video, or that able to one-click support a podcaster with revenue is more important than video, what do the listeners say? Shouldn't the listeners be setting our priorities so that we make them happy and they want to listen to our content on these apps? Think so. So maybe that'll be the goal too, is get some listeners on here, non-podcasters, so they can tell us what they think. Find out how many are watching on YouTube and how many are listening on a podcast app. Notice we didn't talk about AI today. Oh. So, as you can tell, this has been forefront of my mind. And, my team's been discussing it too. We've been having a good discussion about this. Oh, and by the way, I did this show on my birthday. So, if that doesn't call for dedication, nothing does. All right, we're going to get out of here. I say we. We as those of you on the live stream and those of you that have been watching on YouTube. And I want to thank everyone for being here. Feel free to give Rob an email too. But I'm Geek News. Better just do the personal email. geeknews@gmail.com. geeknews@gmail.com. What do you want to hear? Who do you want me to talk to? What do you want me to cover? Should we change the new media show to the old media show, or what should we do? It's been my pleasure to bring you the podcast today. I'll be back here, I'm pretty sure, next Wednesday, same time, same channel. For those of you who want to watch it live at 3 o'clock. May have to bring in a sponsor now. No. I'm not going to do that. My GoDaddy sponsor has been doing very well. If you heard last week on the show, we had another good month. So, but thank you. And yes, boost, if you will. And send your comments, or again, drop me an email. We'll cover them in the show. Comment on the blog. Why not? At newmediashow.com. Please follow. All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.